What is going on, guys? Thank you for joining us. It's the 12th of March, the weekly FM show, and we have Guido from strikeless.com with us tonight. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
We've got some interesting tactics discussion later coming on, all talking about strikeless. I might throw in a non-strikeless just to make him twitch. But we're going to start off by talking a bit about some FM16 improvements and some unrealistic expectations which are happening in Football Manager 2015, as well as the region of the week for this week. But we're going to start with FM16 improvements, Ryan, as well as what issues have you seen in FM15 which you think can be improved for FM15, FM16? You know what I mean.
One of the things that I think I saw someone on the group, I'm not going to name names because we don't like to name names, someone said that the interaction between players after the game and even interaction with a player individually needs massive improvement. Where there's not many responses. We all know that a lot of people want, someone was a bit unrealistic, said they want at least 1,000 responses, which I'm not sure Sports Interactive are going to sit together and go, right, we need 1,000 responses, what can we give? But for me, I agree that there needs to be more responses that you can give to players, because some of them are just, meh, you're doing well. Like, for instance, when you start talking to a player and you tell him you want him to improve, you're not doing well, and then the next sponsor will be, I want you to improve, and then something else will pop up, and it's just so. Sometimes even now on FM15 I can go, well, that response will come up next. I know the order of each one. I think there needs to be more of a difference. I'm not sure what you think, Paul. Talking to players, should there be more responses?
I do agree with that. I had at the end of my first season with Torrevecca, where we were going into the playoff final, so obviously a chance of promotion. I wanted to, I think I mentioned this on the Monday night show, I wanted to kind of influence it and say, come on, you can do it. And the only options were to tell them they've played badly, but there's a possibility of promotion. And they had performed well above expectations, so I did not want to say to them, you've played badly. So I had to basically leave the conversation, because all of the options were basically saying, well, you haven't done too well, but there's still a chance to get out of it. And I think that needs to be improved, because we were expecting mid-table and we ended up winning promotion, and yet the only options were to basically insult the players, which I wasn't too impressed by, but definitely think it can be improved, the player interaction and team interaction. I done by yourself, Guido?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure we should have even more options. I mean, the ones we have are boring as hell anyway, so why add more of this stuff people usually leave to their assistants? If you're like me, you're not going to touch the team talks and the player talks and just leave it. It's bland, it's boring. Why make it even worse with more options?
I'm not sure about the more options, but I think if they just had a bit more options in the background, but only bringing up 5, maybe, as they do now for each chat, because I like to take every press conference. I always try to attend them. I just find, as you said, it is boring. I think people find it boring due to the fact that all the answers are always the same.
It's repetitive. It's the same thing over and over again. You do 5 of them and you've seen them for the rest of the season.
It is, it's boring when you watch it. I mean, when people watch YouTube series, for example, or watch people on Twitch, they don't even have to read it. They will literally click second answer, third answer, second answer, third answer, first answer. For example, when you first get a job and you meet the press, you know which answers to select. And I do think it'd be good to mix it up, because it'd be good, basically. I see James listening on the side. He just said aye. James listening, James. But yeah, I definitely think interaction in players does need looking at. If to the extent where Guido just is not a fan of it, should it be removed? Should it be just revamped? Should they have maybe, even to the extent of 50 different answers, and the computer generates 5 of them for every press conference, so going in the press conference there's going to be different answers you can put out there, instead of only having the same 5 every time.
To be fair, the game has bigger problems than this minor issue. Let them fix the match engine.
See, it must literally just be me who I'd never have an issue with the match engine. Now I do see, and do see a lot, the screenshots and the videos of the issues with the match engines. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's not a issue with the match engine, but in my games, I don't have anything really where I watch and I go, why is that guy running away, for example? So I think I'm just genuinely quite lucky, or my players are too crap to get in the situations where that ever happens.
Or you could be an excellent manager.
That near enough guarantee it's not that.
Probably not the case.
Just for the people who are listening live, at the top of the screen you will see the 4 boxes. If you click on them, it gives you the options to the Q&A if people do want to comment. Chris has come on. He said, "Evening, gents." Good evening, Chris. Cheers for listening. But yeah, going into more things that we would like to see improved or just added for FM16. I know it's been discussed quite a lot. The more I think about it, the more the basis of the idea I like is that you can start by only controlling the under-18s. So you know how you can control the Barcelona B team, for example? That same format where you control that team, but you have no control over the signings really. Or maybe you can sign under-18 players. I don't want all of this, you can spend your wages or you can be the chairman and all this crap. I just want to think it would be really good if you could start your career as the under-18s manager at Accrington and Stanley. Then you apply for under-21 jobs, then you finally get a first-team job. I think that would be a good way to go. I don't know about yourself, Guido.
It's probably a good idea. Everyone has their own way of playing the game, and I suppose it would appeal to some people. I prefer just to dive in with a senior job, but that's the way I like to play. So.
Well, now I've seen Miles has basically said no to that idea. A couple of people put it to him on Twitter, and he just said no one would want to do it. So maybe they've obviously at some point would have discussed it in the meetings at the headquarters, and they've obviously decided at the minute it's not a route they want to go down. But anything else that comes to mind for yourself, Ryan?
I've just been having a look at the post. Someone is, I don't know if you two would agree with this, setting up your own youth academies abroad. So something like what Manchester City have done in Ghana and various other countries, so they can get in. It's dubious. I don't think they could do it on FM.
I'd say no, because
I don't think that's the manager's decision.
Exactly, it goes towards the idea of all this chairman stuff, and I don't want to play that game. Go
Actually,
on, Guido.
If you guys never played FM Live, right?
No, I've never played it.
No.
FM Live offered you the opportunity to start youth academies in different countries. So I'm pretty sure SI actually have the code for a system like that. They just haven't implemented it yet. So yeah, they already experimented with it. That must be like 5 or 6 years ago now. So
yeah, I think
it would be nice, and in real life the manager would have a say in that. Of course, it would be the executive decision to ultimately go ahead with it. But like a feeder club, you could request them to start an academy club, a franchise club in a different country.
I think you have obviously the option to get a feeder club with the intention of getting good youth players from them. But I understand what you're saying, not just a feeder club, but an all-out youth academy for your club. So like basically you just move them to your club. It is an interesting prospect, and maybe it can be implemented in the search for a feeder club. It can maybe be implemented in that, so it's not as crazy as going into like chairman style stuff, but you can request a academy to be set up, and if they might come back with options saying, do you want to do it in this country, this country, this country, for example, which it could be an interesting idea. I don't see why it couldn't be tested. There's no reason why they couldn't test it. Anything you specifically like to see, Guido, apart from the match engine?
Well, some more tactical options mostly, some extra player roles maybe, like the withdrawn target man. Um, Maybe some. Actually, have you guys ever read Rashidi's blog?
Rashidi's blog? I
No.
don't think so,
I
no.
reckon you haven't. Well, he's mentioned two new team instructions he'd like to see, and I actually agree with him. One of those would be high block, and the other one would be to bypass midfield
Okay, yeah.
to get the proper long ball style in, which is not all that easy right now. And the same with the high block. Bl- there are options missing from the current setup, which could be a useful addition to the system.
Definitely agree with that. I play when I've been playing, like, especially with Torrevecca, people will have seen when they're watching the live streams. If we lose them with 15 minutes to go, for example, I go route one, higher passing, etc., and it works really well. But there's issues at times where they will literally just play very short passing, even though you've demanded basically gung ho. So I do like the idea of literally an option, not basically an option which means when you select go route one, it actually does go route one. That would be good if that can be implemented. And people will see actually in the side, you've linked the FM Rashidi's blog. I'm actually going to copy that, and I will paste it into the YouTube once this is recorded. If you check below for people listening back, there'll be a link for that in the description. I'll quickly jump down the side. Jake said he survived the toilet trip, so Guido will be delighted to hear that.
Pleased, chuffed.
Yeah, Colin Mellors, cheers for listening. Our friend over to the other side of the pond in the United States of America. Chris Darwin said, great shout, Guido. And Mr. Zulu from Twitter and YouTube fame says, how do, guys? How do? And that's it. Now we just have Guido's post, which, like I said, I'll put in the description once this goes on YouTube. But I think that covers the FM16 improvements for this evening. That topic's going to come up more and more as we get closer to release, obviously. Just going quickly, how about we quickly jump on and mention the region of the week, Ryan? How does that sound, boss?
That's the order I've got anyway.
Fantastic. 1 second, I'll just go past a million posts. There we go, region of the week. The region of the week this week comes from Andre. I can say his name because I can.
I bet he's not even listening.
He won't be listening. Right, there we go. He's called Galo Keon. Guido like him because he's not a striker.
He's a winger though, and I'm pretty much all about centralized formations.
Damn it, I shouldn't have picked him. Delete. He's only got 11 for passing, which at first made me start to consider taking him away from being the region of the week. But then when I put a little bit of thought into it, his crossing of 18, dribbling of 18, first touch of 18, and long shots of 17. Just don't get him passing the ball short. Get him to either put his head down and just run to that byline and cross it in, or cut inside and just have some shots. I'd love to retrain him on the right wing, do his long shots and just get him cutting inside.
Bit like a David Beckham style of player. He could never really pass the ball short, but crossing the ball,
Well,
better.
his other free kicks were only 11, but for a winger who's just going to get his head down and get the ball in, I think it's a great winger and a good shout for region of the week this week. So congratulations, Andre, for if you actually listen back. If you don't, we'll just never tell you.
We have a striker and a winger now.
Yeah, striker and a winger, all done.
Team's getting there.
But we're now going to go on to unrealistic expectations. Now, the reason this has been thrown in, I assume, is due to... Oh, sorry, I've just got to jump in. We've got some breaking news from Chris. Bella, due to, I assume, Chris being a stalker, has been found on Twitter. So, tomorrow night, I will be taking some screenshots of my save and tweeting Bella. If you don't know who Bella is, Guido, shame on you.
I do know who he is, but...
Fantastic.
I mean, isn't this borderline harassing him?
Yeah, but don't worry, he'll enjoy it. It'll be good harassment.
I hope so.
It'll all be happy thoughts.
Or you guys won't be getting into Spain next time you want to go on holidays.
Yes. Hopefully he doesn't contact customs and say we're stalking.
You stalk him. I'll get into Spain. It'll be fine.
Oh, okay then. I'll give you the picture to get signed. But we're gonna go on yeah.
Unexpected expectations.
Thank you. The reason this is coming is I won promotion first season after being expected mid-table. So second season I was expected to battle against relegation, which was okay. I survived on the last day of the season. In the third season I was expected bottom half, and I came fifth, which was over expected, but financially we've struggled massively and it's getting worse. And they did not offer me any more wage budget, and we lost a few players. So basically we lost a few players, the wage budget dropped, and then they said, oh well, you can just use that for next season. Yet they have come back this season and the minimum expectation is to challenge for the title. Now I think, again, it's just overly crazy. They should be expecting mid-table. We are one promotion away from Liga Adelante. So we are to expect me to push for that division next season on the wage budget, on the finances we have, and on the team I've got at the minute is just crazy. I overachieved last season, but it doesn't mean they should expect the same again the next season. I think FM needs to kind of rein in what they expect. I don't know if you find this, Guido. You normally succeed, so you probably don't have an issue.
I generally overachieve, so it's not really an issue for me.
Just has to show off, Ryan. Come on, you join in. You get sacked a lot. Come on.
I have been
sorry,
sacked
It's
a
not my
lot.
fault. You suck.
I have been sacked a lot, but now I'm quite successful. But I
And
don't
he's
think
playing
I've ever had
strikerless.
I don't ever have had unrealistic expectations. I've had ambitious ones. Like I think with Gillingham they wanted me to finish mid-table, and I overachieved there. But yeah, I think it was Jay that put it in. I don't know if Jay's listening. I know you told him to. Whether he is
I doubt it.
is another story. So maybe we can find out there. Maybe he's had unrealistic expectations.
Can I just say, just quickly, non-football manager related, Jay sent me today a copy of the game he's been making at university, and it's fantastic. Fair play to him. Really enjoyed playing it. I was crap at it, but really enjoyed playing it. But yeah, I think it just needs to kind of rein in a little bit. It needs to take into account a bit more of the game, your situation at the time, and kind of think, they overachieved. Same again next year. But I think it does just go down to, they finished fifth. So this season we want you to go a couple of places higher and challenge. It's frustrating. I wish you could kind of go into a meeting almost and say, look, I've done this, I've done that. Can we drop the expectation? But unfortunately you can't. You can just kind of enhance the expectation.
Does it not go on the chairman's personality? Like if they have an ambitious personality, they expect the club to achieve a bit more?
I would assume it does. I think it's frustrating. I really do hope, because I hope the chairman's a nice bloke, because obviously tomorrow we live streaming season 4. So I'd rather not get sacked on bloody live on air. That'll give Guido something to laugh at me about. He'll tell me I should have gone strikerless as soon as I lose my job.
Of course.
Yeah, fair play. But we are now going to move over to some strikerless talk. So this is where I find out. Now, can I just say, I have only played strikerless for one whole season once. Now, I don't know if Guido actually remembers this. It was my first or second save on Football Manager 2015 with Viking Stavanger. Expected mid-table, and I finished second by a couple of points playing strikerless. So
it works.
It works for people who have no knowledge of it. Because Guido said to me, go strikerless, download a tactic. I said, oh no, I want to do my own. So I read his blogs, took a few tips, but tried to create my own tactic of doing it. And it works. You can just jump into it, so don't fear trying something that you don't know. But I'm going to hand over to Ryan and yourself to have a talk about this Strikeless 2.0, which Ryan has been using on and off when he's needed against the tougher people.
Yeah, this tactic, if you scroll down, you might actually see
Oh,
the formation. Yeah, this is the one I've been using. That I'm at Barcelona at the moment using this, and this tactic, whenever I've used it against a tougher opponent, I think I played it against Real Madrid and beat them 4-0, which is just. I agree with Guido. Strikerless, it works. It's not some. I thought I got pulled in and pulled in and pulled in. I thought I'm going to give it a go. The way I think that this one works, especially for me and the Barcelona style, is the two supporting strikers, which I have. I've got quite a few strikers at Barcelona because I can rely on the Barcelona B team to come in as well. And this tactic here is fantastic. All the players in that formation there seems I know what Paul's going to look at it and go. They seem very close together, like they're hugging each other. But the way I think I changed a few of the instructions and the players spread. The
oh,
supporting strikers go a bit wider, so they're bringing the wide play in, and then this is going to be a word that I can never say. I think is it an on chance, the EG?
I'd just say
Andorge.
egg.
The on chance just goes up and beats the striker by himself.
You guys are
This
Philistines.
Sorry.
this this has been a fantastic tactic for whenever I've needed it, especially in the Champions League when you obviously come up against the tougher opposition. But what I want to know, Guido, for this tactic, because I think I had your first strikerless tactic and that didn't work for me. I think I used it for Man United when I went back when I was being sacked on
Hmm.
my save. What was the difference between your first strikerless and the 2.0?
Mostly some team instructions that got tweaked. After seeing it in action in the match engine, I pretty much determined that the short play wasn't working the way it was supposed to. So I removed the pass into space option and I removed the work ball into the box option, mostly because I noticed that the first touch of the players was abysmal. They were playing like Emil Heskey's or Chris Iwelumo's. First touches all over the place, and
Poor
it,
Heskey.
it doesn't work for strikerless. You have no focal point up front, so every touch has to be right for it to work. So if a player lets a ball drop off his feet for 2 or 3 meters, it's worthless. If a pass is into space and the player can't control the ball and runs it over the lines, there's no use in playing the ball into space. The same would work the ball into the box if you want to have a patient build-up, but the players can't actually control the ball well. What's the use in using a patient build-up?
Dog, probably.
Yeah, it's a good point. I do like like you said there. You've actually addressed it in the match engine. You've had a look at it. You've worked it out. Well, what says James has come on from the Wizards. He said 12 seasons into FM12, he played striker for Spain in an international competition, and he lost in the final. Great fun, but he doesn't have the bottle to do with the club. Do you know what? I find this fantastic, and what I love is the fact in the FM community, if you say strikeless, everyone goes strikeless.com. Absolutely love that website. I've never heard anybody say the slightest bad word about the website. And everybody always talks about it as if it's like the bravest thing in the world. And I love the reputation of I haven't got the balls at the minute. Maybe I'll try it next season. Maybe I'll give it a go. You
People
must
are conservative.
you must love how people refer to yourself and refer to the tactic and just the discussion you can have with people trying to encourage them to, as you always say, come to the dark side.
Exactly. And for the people claiming it's not realistic, tell that to Liverpool.
Yeah, well, I mean, saying it's not realistic, I think is it's not. I would say the way Barcelona plays strikerless because Messi, Suarez, and Neymar they don't stand up front as a striker. So to say it's unrealistic, I think people need to maybe address how football works because there's quite a few teams out there who don't actually play with a striker.
My formation is probably more attacking than most. If you look at the roles, there's at
Oh,
least 4 attacking players in there. There's the central winger in midfield, and the front three are
oh,
all attackers.
there we go. I was trying to find the rules.
I think you would be better off just looking at the formation.
Yep. Okay.
In that case, you
Yeah.
can see at least 4 attacking rules and 4 supporting rules, only 2 defensive rules. So yeah, that's all in all, it's a pretty offensive tactic. It's forward thinking. It's not. It's all about having the ball and forcing your will upon the opponent instead of leaning back and being negative.
I liked.
I was going to say doing a Chelsea, parking the bus, but
It's okay. You can say do Nepal because Chris is listening, and he always says how
no,
defensive I am.
doing a poll means getting sacked.
Oh, not yet. For all we know, my very limited side could actually challenge for the title this season. I'm so interested to get into it tomorrow night and find out. What I would say is I absolutely love that, and I like how Ryan said he's tinkered with it. So he hasn't just downloaded the tactic and played with it. He's then thought, how can I make this strikerless work? Splitting the wingers, the shadow strikers to pull out wide.
I think that's a good approach. You should always use a tactic you download as a framework and tweak it to suit the strengths and weaknesses of your own team, of your own squad. I mean, it's good as a plug-and-play tactic, but you can make it even better by customizing it.
Yeah, because I know what I did was I had the 2 attacking midfielders and 3 central midfielders, and my 2 central midfielders on either side, I got them to run wide with the ball with Viking. And then the 2 attacking midfielders would basically go and do whatever you want. And it worked really well because they kind of just wandered around the final third, and the 2 central midfielders who run wide were providing the options for them. It was fantastic. It really worked. I'll probably end up implementing it in my Coventry save at the minute because my strikers is crap, which you'll see on my YouTube series as the episodes come out. They play better when you put them on the wing. Jay just said, "Oh, slam for Guido." I assume it's with the sacking. Jay, you actually missed me praising you quite a lot, so unfortunately you came on late and you said, "What have I missed?" Jake said, "Strikeless equals God. His formations are incredible, and I would never have tried it."
Is that
See?
not a bit contradictory? His tactics are amazing, but I've never tried them.
No, he would never have tried it, which means he's tried it, but he never would have thought of trying it if it wasn't for Guido
Well,
influencing him.
See,
I can't take credit for the idea because I nicked it off somebody else.
It's alright, we'll pretend it's your idea.
No.
If I cut you off before you can say who you stole the idea off, it still counts as your idea. We're going to go into the 4240 Overload, a more recent post you've done.
I've used this one as well once.
Did you win?
I think so, but I didn't like the shape that it was using. So.
Okay. I must admit, I think this shape scares me because a lot of people know I like to play a 4-1-4-1 with a deep line forward, so almost strikeless. I like it because it's very attacking. I have 4 people who constantly attack, but I start in a solid base, so I'm quite defensive. And the thought of having 4 attacking players in the starting position is quite scary, but Guido no doubt gets it to work. Is this the one you did with Tottenham, is it?
Yeah, it's the Tottenham one. It's I wanted to utilize the wingers Spurs have. I mean, Lennon and Townsend, and to an extent Lamela are good wide players, and to ignore them completely would be a waste of capital. I mean, I just had to get rid of Soldado and Adebayor.
Save a fortune.
Well, yeah, it's save a fortune in wages and make a killer on the transfer market, but you can't sell all the wingers as well, and you can't turn them into fullbacks. So I came up with this, and well, it works.
Now, what I would like to ask, there's a person who I used to read called Phoenix on NeoSeek. He actually has his own blog. I think he stopped writing, but if I can find it, I'll put that in the description as well. And he often converted attacking midfielders into defensive midfielders. He often converted wingers into fullbacks, and he actually helped me learn how to develop training players. And I quite often will change a player's natural position, and a lot of my fullbacks started out as wingers if people follow any saves I actually get into, which have been a struggle recently. But do you do that a lot? Because I can envisage you, because of the tactics you use, have you at any point converted a striker into a central midfielder, for example?
Yep.
Strikers are ideal for attacking midfielder positions, mostly turning them into shadow strikers, especially if they're fast enough. The same goes for wingers. You can convert them to a more centralized position and use them there. Just going back to the Tottenham example, I don't think Lennon and Townsend, and Lamela for that matter, are good enough defensively to play at the back. Their defensive attributes are pretty abysmal.
Yeah, I think I totally agree.
It's a bit like Valencia playing for Man United.
Yeah, abysmal.
I rest my case.
Yeah. Have you done anything crazy, Ryan? I know my biggest one was I converted someone who's naturally an inside forward. This was on FM14 with Mulder. And by season 5, he was my left wing back. And he was very, very good defensively. I never really conceded from down the right flank because of him as left wing back. He was so good. But when I started, he was naturally a striker stroke inside forward left wing. Have you ever done any out of the box conversion?
Oh yes.
Who are you asking? Who are you asking?
I asked you, Ryan, and Guido can tell us as well.
Okay. I've never been too ambitious, but I always like to have my right back and left back. I like them to have the option that they can actually play wing backs, just in case. Especially at Barcelona, when I like to push them forward when I'm losing. I start off with them playing right back, left back, but then if I'm losing, I push them forward to wing backs.
Yeah. What about yourself, Guido?
I tend to use some of my more powerful defenders, the big tall guys. I tend to use them as battering rams. Turn them into attacking midfielders or actual strikers to use in case of an emergency.
Nice.
If I have to force something in, just lump the big guy up front and see what happens.
So kind of like going back to the likes of Dion Dublin.
Yeah, and maybe Man United in recent times putting Fellaini up front.
Yeah. For some reason, John Hartson comes to mind. Did he play at the back as well?
Don't think
Didn't he
he
play
played at the
midfield?
back.
I'm trying to think, because you had Dion Dublin, didn't you? Was a striker stroke. He played centre back quite a lot near the end, and so did somebody else. Maybe someone in the comments can let us know. One thing I would say, I actually had this. Someone messaged me today about training players. I just want to quickly give. There's a little bit of advice I always give people because this is one side of the game that I'd like to think I'm quite good at offering advice at. When I'm playing in the lower leagues, I will never ever waste time training a player into a new position or training stats specifically on a player. People always ask me what individual training do you do on people. I always wait until they actually have potential to do something. What you'll find is a lot of people load a football manager with, example, Akron and Stanley. They'll have a very average player who's only going to be good enough for League Two. Then you'll find they set in individual training, they set in him to train in new positions. I genuinely think it's not worth the effort because you want to push for promotion as quick as you can. The best way to do that is team training. Get your team working as a team, get yourself promoted, then slowly replace these players with players who can develop and can become better. That's why a lot of the time people say, oh, you haven't set any individual training. Then after 2 or 3 years, they notice I start to implement it as the players slowly become better, and I know these players are going to develop, and I can see they're going to develop into players who I will want to use in different roles. But I'll just quickly jump down the side. Chris Sutton is one of them. Used to play defender / striker. That is one of them. I remember that one.
Gary Doherty.
Yeah, that's one of them. Right, just quickly. This is actually interesting. Guido, did you see Chris Darwin's post on FM Central where he's doing a defenseless formation?
Yeah, I've actually dabbled with that myself, but never could get it to work properly because the offside trap was killing us.
Okay, just James is actually asking on the side what your thoughts on it are.
I imagine Paul reading it and just his mouth opening so wide. No
any team using a direct approach, any team hoofing the ball forward, just dropping it over the defensive line and using a fast striker would absolutely murder me on the break.
Yeah, I think it was interesting. Like he was winning, so I mean, if you're winning, you're doing something right. Is it going to work at the top level? I'm not sure because, like you said, the higher up you go, the more pacey strikers and the more pacey wingers you get, and you're going to have issues. But then that comes the test. Can you develop it to get to work? Defenseless is even more scary than strikerless. So it's definitely going to be interesting. Colin Mellors has come on. Colin's actually a massive fan of Strikers. He was telling me earlier he likes to read the website. So another fan of yours here. He says he finds the best part of reading Strikers.com is the tactical analysis. Even if you don't play with Strikers formations, there is so much to learn from the analysis and thinking that can translate to any aspect of the game. So there's
Thank
obviously
you.
a really nice report on your website.
Well, I know that Strikerless, I think someone sent him a tactic and he actually analysed it, and it's actually on the website. I don't know if you've got it up on any of the
I've
posts at the
I've
top.
got a few to go, a few more to go through. I mean, the next one I wanted Guido just to explain what the post is about for people. Just a brief analysis on the post, so maybe people can go, I want to read about that. Now this is merchandise in the play transition,
Mechanizing, mate.
mechanized. I
Mechanising.
can't read. I'm trying to read quickly and read comments and stuff. Do you want to just explain what this is about?
It's not actually my own work. It's Lee Scott's work, FM Analysis, who mentioned he might be clearing out his weblog, removing the archives, and I mentioned it would be a shame to lose the Mechanizing the Play series, and he said, well, how about you host it then? So I took him up on that offer, and I am going to post the entire series, which consists of 6 articles over the next few weeks, which consists of his ideas on mechanizing your play. This is the transition phase between defense and attack and defense, which is actually the phase of play where teams are most vulnerable because organization is shifting, is changing, which is where you can hurt teams. For instance, take wingbacks. Most teams use their wingbacks to go forward. If you catch them in a transitioning phase, shifting from defense to offense, and you win the ball, they're out of position, which means the entire defense is left exposed and vulnerable. Shifting play, transition phases are important. So yeah, that's what this post is about. It's also about midfield transitions. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on there, and to be fair, Lee is still one of the best tacticians out there.
I was quite sad when I did see that he mentioned he was going to be moving away from the football manager side of things.
Yeah, he's looking into real life analysis more, but yeah, that's his call, I suppose. He'll be back though.
Yeah, you can't keep away from football manager. I've tried. It lasted about a week. Nakawaka Kanu was a defender before he became a striker, if that counts. It all
Naka,
counts.
Nakawaka, mate.
That's why I always call him. I've called him that for years. I've no idea why. I think one of the commentators used to call him it in England, so I started calling him it.
Jesus.
Chris Darwin said he's drew the last 2 games 1-1 using it. There you go. Conceded a goal in the last 2 games. I don't accept conceding goals. We'll go on to the next one, which is scout reports, how to use them properly. See, not just strike lists. I noticed you've tweeted about this a few things because obviously the web address strikelist.com can sometimes make people, if they're not looking for strike list talk, they might obviously think, I'll jump to a different website. But it doesn't only have strike list discussion. You have a lot of other stuff to help people.
Well, the scout reports are intriguing because when you turn the attribute masking on, they're basically the only the only source of knowledge you can get on a player. So you have to know what you're doing. So I focused on the stars ratings, and I focused on the pros and cons listings. What does that actually tell you? What kind of information can I get from that? Besides the more blatantly obvious tips and tricks on a player's attributes, it also gives you information on a player's potential ability and how it's determined, and it gives you information on the player's hidden attributes. It it gives you information on how likely a player is to develop into a top player, and it gives you information on, is this a player really fit for a top level club? If his professionalism is low, you can expect him to not develop properly. If a player is very ambitious or not very loyal, you can expect him to be a cunt as soon as a big club shows up. These are decisions and factors you should consider when buying a player, especially when you're a smaller club. When you're a big club and he's just signing number 30 or 40 over the summer, it doesn't matter if he's ambitious or not. You can always replace him with another player. If you're a small club, every penny counts. Every signing has to be spot on, and these could be decisive factors. So you have to know what to look for when you're scouting players, and I try to convey my knowledge into that post.
It's a fantastic post. Did this go Fanside Friday?
No, it hasn't.
I think it needs to be recommended for this week.
I've sent it to Alan, and well, fingers crossed.
Yeah, if not, just keep sending it every week. That's all I do. It's a great post. I mean, I did the same with Magdeburg in Germany, and I had attribute masking on. I had to sign players that my scouts recommended, and I had to basically do everything to make the game as realistic and as tough as possible. And it's a good challenge to literally do only sign people who your scout recommends. If your scout says he's not a good player, even if when he's scouting you can see his attributes and they look good, if my scout thought he was a bad player, I wasn't allowed to sign him, for example.
Scouts are still broken. I really, really do believe that, because you have to look beyond what the scouts say. A scout could give somebody a poor rating star-wise, but the player could end up being a world-class player anyway, because the stars rating is a relative one, not an absolute one.
Yeah, I mean, I was using the pros and cons and just analysing what my scouts said about them. I made sure my scouts were the best in the region. They were the best in I think, the next 3 divisions up. They were fantastic, and they actually did a good job. The pros and cons, stars-wise, they were shocking, because they were giving people 2 and 3 stars, but in the pros and cons, they were boasting about the work rate, etc., and saying how determined they were when they come into the club. The players they were battling every game, and they were fantastic for me. And 90% of the players I got because my scouts ended up being really good players.
Even the attributes, pros and cons, are not always useful. Take, for instance, I've had a succession save on Cyprus with some friends, and we signed Pablo Aimar, and the scout said he was crap, and he would be too slow, and he would be physically unfit, which is all true, but just look at the role we want him to play. We want him to be a static playmaker behind, well, the shadow strikers, the not actually strikers. He doesn't need to run.
Yeah.
So who gives a flying fuck that he's slow? He's not supposed to run with the ball. He's supposed to receive the ball in his feet, turn away, pass it.
I've had the exact same thing with the exact same player, where my scout said he was going to be slow, he wasn't going to be able to do the job, and I wanted him for the exact same reason, to basically stand there, collect the ball, spread it. And he did fantastic till he got a 7-month injury. And it was just like, oh, you've only played 5 matches. So disappointing, unfortunately. But we're just going to quickly jump on. We've only got a minute to go, and then obviously you're leaving early in the morning, so we don't want to keep you on talking past the deadline. Just quickly, a couple of more posts you got out. Eliminating agents. You've got 10 seconds to promote it.
Alright, it's about how you can cut the agent's fee almost in half, lower wage demands, and lower signing on fees by basically lying to the agents.
Nice. Just tell them a few lies. And the final one, your favourite player in world football, Fernando Torres. How can you stop your forward finishing like Torres at Chelsea?
It's not 100% my own piece. It's a collaborative effort by Jonathan Aspey and Diego Mendoza and myself. Diego actually posted the start of this post came from the Football Manager Now forums, and Diego started it, and I thought, well, it's a good post, but we can make it even better. We can add stuff to it, we can improve on it, and I basically asked him, how would you like to work together and see how we can make it an even better post? And that's what we did. We looked at which factors determine the finishing rate of a player and how can we improve them, because people always say it's your tactics or your players are shit. Well, if it were my tactics, I wouldn't be scoring as many as I did, and if my players were shit, we wouldn't be winning as much as we did. But that still doesn't mean we score a lot of goals every game. So despite having good players and having good tactics, it can go wrong. And what can we do to change the tide when things are going wrong? And we found a lot of factors that influence that, and we found a lot of ways to try and rectify the problem.
I mean, people can see I'm scrolling through just so you can see the brief layout of the post. It's a massive post, but it's definitely worth a read. I've slowly worked my way through your site when I get free time, and I absolutely love reading it. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I think the best way to sum it up is James in the comments has said, "Quit your day job, Guido. You're so intelligent when it comes to Football Manager. Some team, surely in real life, is going to offer you a job. Great show."
Yeah, anyone saying that hasn't obviously seen me play in real life.
Maybe he means you could maybe get a tactical
Yeah, I know
analysis
that,
job.
but still, I'm not quitting my day job.
He refuses. He'll do it part-time, James. You just get him a job. So send him footage from Montrose, and he will do some analysis on their games and tell them how to play strikeless. Jake said, just to finish off, he said he loves how straightforward Guido is, and completely Chaz joins us as we end in. So thank you for joining us, Guido, tonight. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. Have a safe journey in the morning, and I would like to thank everyone who's tuned in and listened tonight, and we will see you on Monday.